witness, the malefactor of our first collapse, is at our doorstep. Once thought to be a force known as the Darkness, the witness revealed itself to be an entity that instead wields the darkness against us. It spoke through our ghosts and offered us salvation if we submitted to it. We refused. Though we do not know its true intentions, we can only assume it seeks to finish what it started during our collapse. Our resolve was tested when Savathun, Hive goddess of trickery, disguised herself as one of our foremost guardians, Osiris. She gained access to our secrets, but in turn, Osiris gained access to hers. Savathun had rebelled against the witness and hid what might be our only chance of defeating it away on the planet Neptune. Former Cabal Emperor Callus and his loyalist warships have joined the Witness's advance on Earth. This conflict was set in motion long before we existed, but we will bring it to an end one way or another. Guardian, the battle begins here and now.
What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got a pretty big Destiny 2 Lightfall video, and the hype train for the upcoming expansion continues today, as Bungie revealed in Lightfall Vidoc. And of course these are long-form videos that Bungie produce going into much more detail about various elements of the upcoming content, so they talk more about the story, the destination, of course abilities and the gear that we'll find there, but also it's an opportunity to talk a little more about Year 6 in general, some of the season content including Season of Defiance, and they're more or less giving us the most in-depth look at the upcoming expansion that we've had. And so we're going to talk about some of what we've seen today in the video. I should also mention there is a new Lightfall interactive trailer which is pretty cool. We played the dialogue for that at the beginning of the video, but on Bungie's website we can actually interact with the trailer to expand certain sections and get more info. So if you want to check that out in full, it is also linked down below. Otherwise though, let's talk a little bit about the Vidoc from today. And so initially, one of the first striking things we see in this Vidoc are some of the new cinematics that we're going to get in Lightfall. And it looks like cinematic storytelling is certainly going to be a pretty big component of this expansion. And of course we did see that with Witch Queen, but there's a very epic kind of space battle feel to what we're seeing right here, somewhat reminiscent of the Taken King stuff. And we see plenty more of the Witness, Callus, Osiris, and various characters. And it's cool to get a better look at some of that gameplay right there. Bungie say that we're going to get pretty intimate with the Witness, we're going to learn a lot more about them, and that will also be a stepping stone for future Destiny content. But they describe the Witness as a controlling, reserved character, who of course is now influencing Callus, who's undergone a pretty epic transformation right here. And on top of a lot of the cinematic content, we also see how Callus has been updated. He's got some new threads going on right there, which is pretty awesome. And it's kind of a mix between darkness and of course the typical Callus opulence with his new armor and stuff. And so plenty of teasers as to the kind of storytelling we're going to see in Lightfall. But then Bungie talk about Strand and they describe it as the web of life, and opposed to strictly being a darkness subclass or something we earn through the light. They say Strand is a new force that we'll come to understand, and we're sort of discovering it for the first time. And then they talk a little bit more about this Strand subclasses. Mainly, it's cool to get a look at some more gameplay here, but we see the Hunter Threadrunner and the new super Silk Strike, where we're able to swing this rope dart in a series of very quick attacks. Then of course the Titan, where the super is Blade Fury, and it comes with a kind of melee combo, but also a heavy attack, which sends out a suspending wave. And then the Warlock Broodweaver, where the super is Needle Storm, and this launches 3 sources of power which explode if they hit enemies, or turn into threadlings if they hit the ground. And of course those threadlings then go ahead and track targets. But then naturally they talk about grappling, and they confirm that grapple will take up the grenade slot. And it's cool to get some flashy gameplay of the grapple, but the devs talk about how when you grapple to an enemy, it will kind of stun them for a second. And you can finish with a grapple punch during that attack, which also grants unravel projectiles as you continue to shoot at those enemies. So that's one of the new verb abilities with Strand. But they also talk about Neomuna and how the civilization branched off from Earth after the collapse, and the people of Neomuna have kind of kept themselves secret. But they also talk about the variation in environments, this really cool kind of sandy diamond beach, which of course meets that huge city of neon. And they speak as well about how it features a spectrum of environments. Going further into the depths of Neomuna, we'll find a new lost sector called the Thrilladrome, which is literally an arcade on the destination, which is really cool. But also a secret area that they call the Puka Pond. And these pukas are these kind of mysterious beings. We originally saw one floating around with the Stranger in a Beyond Light cinematic before it launched, and then it wasn't really part of the game. But with this area hidden on the new destination, it looks like we're going to learn a little bit more about them. Of course, also on the destination will be Callus's giant ship, which is sort of a base for the Cabal, and no doubt we'll be investigating that in some detail during the expansion. But as well, they talk about the Cloud Striders. These new characters are the defenders of the city. And there are two core characters we'll deal with in the story, Nimbus and Rohan. Rohan is kind of the veteran Strider. Then Nimbus, who we'll work with a little more closely, is described as the rookie, kind of learning on the job and bending the rules a little bit. Safe to say these are pretty curious characters, and probably also potentially destination vendors for Neomuna. They talk a little bit more about Tormentors as well, and they describe them as the scariest unit we've ever fought, and these will be roaming around on the destination but also in some of the content, sort of like a new champion or boss. And they say these are commanders of void energy, and they show how they can freeze us and kind of pull us into their gaze. It's safe to say they do look pretty spooky. There are a few teasers to Season of Defiance as well, and Joe Blackburn describes Season of Defiance and Lightfall as two sides of the Destiny coin. And on the Season side, we can see that Amanda Holiday is actually going to feature, and will get involved in the story content. We also see Crow there, and they say Petra and Devrim will feature into the content as well to some extent. So that's pretty cool. But Callus forces are also invading Earth, and it's our job to protect it. We see Mithrax there as well. Obviously some cinematic content right there, and the devs say we'll be rescuing prisoners from Cabal bases. So it looks like the Fallen will get involved and give us some helping hands in protecting Earth. Also right here, there's a shot where we see possibly a new sword right there on the back of this hunter. Kind of looks like it might be a stasis thing. There is the potential it could be exotic, but also there are seasonal weapons and things like that. Here though, they speak about exotics, and we'll play a little section from the Vidoc, but really cool, they show a Titan with potentially a new exotic helmet, but also a very interesting stasis bow. So potentially, we got a couple of more secretive exotics right there, which they haven't spoken about in depth just yet, but they talk once again about some of the exotics that have already been revealed, so check out this section in full.
We have a lot of weapons and armor for players to earn, and I'm super excited to see what you've been working on.
We have a couple of strand exotics. The Warlocks are getting what's called Swarmers. They're these boots that will, on Tangled Destruction, create new threadlings at that location. Now they can either shoot it, or they can pick up a tangle and throw a tangle, and then that will also create threadlings. The Hunters are getting this helmet that will help them grapple through the air. As you grapple, you gain this new ability called Woven Mail, and it's reducing the incoming damage except for headshots. The Titans get boots that will augment an aspect that they have. The aspect itself will just send out a wave that will suspend enemies in front of their barricade after casting it, but the boots will split it up into 3 waves. Whenever they spin an enemy with these boots on, they also gain Woven Mail. So pushing the front line further and further by being tanky.
I have been caught by those boots a couple times in our playtest. We have this incredibly cool heavy metal machine gun that fires according to its own rhythm, where it gets alternate effects every 4th bullet, and then every 16th bullet, it gets even more added to it. So we have this pistol that will use advanced technology to find your enemies. And so suddenly you're not worrying about aiming, you're really worrying about surviving during the lock-on time. And it opens you up to consider your movement more than your aiming. Being able to lock on to multiple guys in your field of vision and then just obliterate all of them was, I think, a moment where I kind of went, whoa.
Moving on from that though, they do speak about new features, including loadouts and build crafting 2.0. And we get a lot of gameplay right here showing off the loadout manager in a bit better detail. So we can see on the left-hand side where the saved loadouts are. They also potentially are able to get custom names there. And when you hover over them, we can see all of the equipped weapons and armor pieces. But there's a preview pane to the right-hand side as well. It kind of goes into each of those loadouts we've saved in more detail, so that looks really, really cool. And we're able to move pretty freely between the loadout screen and the mod customization screen, which is very similar to the appearance customization screen, where we can quickly access all of the armor and change all of the mods without having to inspect each of them. There are obviously various different UI upgrades here as well. Plus they show the Guardian rank screens. You can see some of the objectives there, and Bungie describe it as the new answer to understanding progression in Destiny on a better level. We can see each of the ranks has various different objectives, some of them in specific types of content, and even specific releases. And they say this will pair with the new commendation system, which also is going to be useful when LFG launches later on in the year, and we'll see in a bit more detail how we'll be able to commend players with merit. They show more cinematic content and things like that at the end, and potentially right here, a little bit of a teaser for the upcoming raid, as the very last clip shows 6 Guardians in what appears to be sort of a raid intro cinematic similar to what we've had in the other raids. But of course, skimming through this Vidoc a few times, no doubt, there are going to be plenty of other things to pick out, so I'll link the full Vidoc down below, guys. And so there we go, guys. A pretty huge reveal for the upcoming expansion, and be sure to give us your thoughts down in the comment section. What are you most excited for? But if you've enjoyed the video today, a rating down below really does help us out on the channel. And also feel free to subscribe, as we're going to be covering all of the upcoming content right here. So be sure to tick that notification bell so I can keep you up to date with everything related to the game. And if you've enjoyed the video, a rating down below really does help us out. But otherwise, thank you as always for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.